Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the most valuable Australian 1-cent coin. A piece so small, yet so powerful, it changed the course of numismatic history. It was just 1 cent. A coin so ordinary, it slipped through millions of hands without a second glance. But hidden among those, copper discs from 1966, lies a legend worth $95,000. A single coin that rewrote the story of Australian money forever. Get ready, because this isn't just a coin, it's a miracle in bronze. Let's moving on. First up, the 1975 Australian 1-cent coin belongs firmly in the latter category. A piece so elusive that its existence is more often spoken about in collector circles than actually seen. Today, with an estimated market value of $1,700 to $900, this modest copper coin, once thought ordinary, now commands a reverence usually reserved for gold sovereigns and early colonial rarities. Struck in bronze, a classic alloy of copper, tin and zinc, the 1975 1-cent coin carries the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machine, a representation of regal dignity that defined Australian coinage during the 1970s. The obverse gleams with the elegant profile of Her Majesty, refined and poised, surrounded by the crisp inscription, Elizabeth to Australia 1975. Yet, beneath this common facade lies an uncommon story, a story of mystery, minting precision, and scarcity that transcends its humble denomination. The reverse, featuring the curled and intricate image of the feathertail glider, is the work of master engraver Stuart Devlin, known affectionately as the designer with the golden touch. Every contour of the tiny marsupial was a celebration of Australia's unique wildlife, captured in copper tones that glow warmly even decades later. But while millions of these coins were minted across multiple years, the 1975 issue is different. It was never officially released for circulation. Most of the 1975 1-cent coins were struck as test pieces or were produced as part of mint sets, with only a handful known to exist outside official channels. Numismatists have long debated the origin of the rare 1975 circulation strikes. Some speculate that a small batch escaped from the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra before the denomination was ultimately discontinued in 1992. Others suggest that these few surviving coins were part of pre-production trials, specimens created to test dyes and metal quality before the mass production was cancelled. Whatever their path, the surviving examples have become icons of Australian coin collecting, coveted, pursued, and almost mythic in their rarity. The market value of $1,700 to $900 is not merely a reflection of scarcity, but of status. For a 1-cent coin, a denomination long considered trivial to command, such a figure speaks to the deep emotional and historical connection collectors feel toward it. This coin represents a bridge between the end of an era and the beginning of another. It is a tangible piece of mid-20th century Australian identity. When collectors hold it, they are holding more than metal. They are holding the passage of time, craftsmanship and national pride distilled into a single disc of bronze. Every detail matters. The precise sharpness of the rim, the depth of Devlin's engraving, the evenness of the fields. These are scrutinized under magnification, and the finest specimens, those with full luster and no sign of circulation, are the true treasures of the numismatic world. Auction houses such as Noble, Numismatics and Downey's have seen fierce bidding wars erupt for coins of this caliber. Each time one appears, it redefines the upper limits of what collectors are willing to pay for rarity and perfection. Beyond its physical attributes, the 1975 Australian 1-cent coin stands as a metaphor for value itself. How something once deemed ordinary can, through time and circumstance, transform into a piece of cultural and financial significance. It is a reminder that history hides in plain sight, that small things can hold immense worth, and that true rarity is not measured by metal, but by meaning. So when this coin graces the auction block, it is more than just a sale. It is a moment in the ongoing story of Australian currency. The gavel falls, the room stills, and collectors hold their breath, knowing that what they are witnessing is not merely the exchange of a coin, but the preservation of a legend. And as the final bid reaches 70 to 900, the world is reminded once more that even the smallest denomination, when imbued with mystery, history, and beauty, can shine with the brilliance of gold. Next up, the 1983 Australian 1-cent coin. Among the many treasures of Australian numismatics, few coins captivate collectors, and historians quite like the 1983 Australian 1-cent coin, a coin that carries with it an air of quiet mystery, understated elegance, and a story of extraordinary rarity. With an estimated market value of $12,400, this small bronze disc, once destined for everyday use, has transcended its humble beginnings to become one of the most sought-after modern rarities in Australian coinage. At first glance, the 1983 1-cent coin appears familiar. The same composition, the same design, the same dimensions that had defined the denomination since decimalization in 1966, struck in bronze, an alloy of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. Its warm, reddish hue carries the earthy glow of Australia's outback. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II gazes serenely to the right, captured in the iconic portrait by Arnold Machine, a design that symbolizes continuity, dignity, and the monarchy's enduring relationship with Australia. Her likeness is framed by the simple yet powerful inscription, Elizabeth to Australia, 1983. Flip the coin, and there it is, Stuart Devlin's timeless creation, the feathertail glider, frozen in perpetual motion, with its delicate tail curling gracefully beneath its small, alert body. The creature seems to leap across the surface of the coin, as if escaping the confines of bronze, to glide through the forests of eastern Australia. Devlin's design, a masterpiece of miniature art, was more than decorative. It was a celebration of Australia's unique wildlife, its natural beauty, and its identity as a nation distinct from its colonial roots. Yet behind the artistry lies a secret, one that makes the 1983 1-cent coin an object of fascination and desire. Despite being dated 1983, no Australian 1-cent coins were officially released for circulation that year. They were minted exclusively for collector sets produced by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. This means that any example of a 1983 1-cent coin found in circulation, or existing as an individual specimen outside those official sets, is an anomaly, a rare survivor, and a whisper of an era when minting practices were transitioning toward modernization and refinement. The reason for this scarcity lies in the mint's production cycles and the declining demand for lower denominations during the early 1980s. By then, the 1 and 2 cent coins were increasingly seen as burdensome to produce and circulate, given their minimal purchasing power. Millions of coins from previous years still filled tills, pockets, and piggy banks across the nation. The Mint, anticipating this surplus, limited its 1983 production almost exclusively to proof and uncirculated sets, meaning very few coins were struck beyond those parameters. But numismatic history has a habit of rewarding anomalies. Over time, certain 1983 1-cent coins have surfaced in remarkable condition, their origins debated and their authenticity scrutinized. Some may have been test strikes, experimental pieces, or mint escapes, coins that slipped through the tight controls of the mint, carried out in pockets or embedded within private collections before public release was halted. Each verified example that emerges rekindles excitement within the collecting community, as if a fragment of hidden history has reappeared after decades in shadow. When such a coin reaches the auction block, it does not go unnoticed. Auction houses like Downey's, Noble Numismatics, and international auction galleries have seen collectors bid fervently for pristine examples, especially those graded by the professional coin grading service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. A top-grade 1983 1-cent coin with flawless fields, sharp rims, and original mint luster can fetch as much as $12,400, a price that would have been unthinkable when the coin was first minted. For collectors, this coin represents more than its monetary worth. It is a symbol of transitional Australia, a nation moving away from its traditional coinage toward modernization, yet still rooted in heritage and craftsmanship. It is a coin that captures the delicate balance between scarcity and survival, between mass production and artistic precision. It reminds us that even the smallest, most unassuming coin can become a cornerstone of numismatic prestige when it tells the right story. In a market where rarity drives value, the 1983 1-cent stands apart. It embodies the perfect combination of factors: limited release, distinctive design, historical context, and the intrigue of its elusive availability. To hold one is to possess a tangible piece of history, a relic from an era when Australia's coinage was quietly shifting toward the future, unaware that its smallest denomination would one day vanish entirely. For nearly 4 decades, collectors have pursued this elusive coin, hunting through old collections, mint sets, and dealer inventories in search of that perfect 1983 specimen. Some have found one by chance, tucked away in an inherited collection. Others have waited years for a single opportunity to acquire it. Each coin tells its own story, not just of the year it was struck, but of the journey it took to survive, to be recognized, and to be valued. And so, as the gavel falls at a prestigious numismatic auction, and the 1983 Australian 1-cent coin reaches its final bid of $12,400, a quiet sense of reverence fills the room. This is more than just a sale. It is the culmination of history, art and rarity converging in one small, perfect object. It is proof that true value often hides in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to see, the right hands to hold, and the right moment to shine. In that moment, the humble coin becomes immortal, no longer a piece of metal, but a story etched in bronze, a testament to Australia's past, and a reminder that even the smallest denomination can hold a world of meaning within its tiny, glimmering surface. Next up, the 1979 Australian 1-cent coin. There are coins that circulate quietly through generations, their surfaces worn smooth by countless hands. And then there are those that transcend the ordinary, coins that vanish from the common world only to re-emerge decades later as objects of reverence, prestige, and profound historical worth. The 1979 Australian 1-cent coin, with an astonishing current market valuation of $10,000, is one such rarity, a bronze relic from an era that bridged tradition and transformation in Australian minting history. At its core, this coin is deceptively simple. A 1-cent piece, struck in the familiar reddish-brown glow of bronze, composed of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. But beneath that modest appearance lies an intricate story of rarity, minting nuance and national identity. In 1979, Australia was undergoing subtle yet significant changes in economy, in technology, and in its coinage production methods. The Royal Australian Mint, located in Canberra, was modernizing its equipment, improving die-making precision, and preparing for future transitions that would redefine the quality and scale of Australian coinage for decades to come. The obverse of the 1979 1-cent coin bears the distinguished effigy of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machine, whose artistry captured the youthful confidence of the monarch and reflected an era of steady leadership across the Commonwealth. The fine detailing of the Queen's hair, the serene expression, and the delicate tiara all speak to a time when craftsmanship met elegance in every minted piece. The surrounding legend, Elizabeth to Australia, 1979, sits in perfect proportion, a balanced harmony between sovereign tradition and national identity. On the reverse, the artistry continues. The coin features the feathertail glider, designed by the master engraver Stuart Devlin, whose deep appreciation for Australia's natural beauty and unique wildlife gave rise to one of the most beloved designs in the nation's numismatic history. The glider, small, graceful, and dynamic, seems alive even in metal, its long, bushy tail curling beneath it as if captured mid-flight. Devlin's ability to breathe life into bronze turned this humble coin into a tiny canvas of national pride. But what makes the 1979 1-cent coin so exceptional is not merely its design or its metal composition. It is its rarity and the near-mythical status it has achieved among collectors. In 1979, the Royal Australian Mint produced no coins for general circulation, reserving most of its 1-cent production for official mint sets and collector issues. The decision stemmed from a combination of factors: sufficient stocks of previous years, coins already in circulation, shifts in minting priorities toward higher denominations, and growing awareness that the 1-cent and 2-cent coins were becoming economically inefficient to produce. Because of these circumstances, the 1979 dated 1-cent coins that exist today are found almost exclusively in mint sets, preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. However, a handful of specimen strikes and rare, early die trials have surfaced over the decades. Coins with subtle variations in metal tone, strike depth, and rim sharpness. These unique examples, often possessing a mirror-like finish or exceptional die clarity, have become the crown jewels of Australian bronze coin collecting. Each one tells a slightly different story of the minting process itself, of experimentation, perfection, and precision. The rarity of the 1979 1-cent coin has only increased with time. As one of the least commonly found issues in circulation, its survival in top condition is nothing short of miraculous. Most Australians who grew up during the late 20th century handled countless 1-cent coins, yet few, if any, would have ever encountered a genuine 1979 example outside a collector's case. Its estimated market value of $10,000 reflects not only scarcity but also the growing recognition of how transitional and historically rich this period of Australian coinage truly was. At prestigious auctions and numismatic fairs, the appearance of a 1979 1-cent coin commands instant attention. Seasoned collectors know its significance. It is not just another date in a series but a symbol of a turning point in Australian monetary history. When presented in pristine condition, its original mint luster glows softly, almost like polished mahogany under warm light. Every curve of the glider, every letter of the inscription, stands in crisp relief, a testament to the mint's craftsmanship and the care taken in its preservation. Beyond its technical attributes, the 1979 1-cent coin carries a quiet symbolism. It represents an age when Australia's smallest denominations still held meaning in everyday commerce, when a single cent could buy a sweet, a postage stamp could be had for only a few, and spare change jingled as a symbol of daily life. Yet today, that same coin, once almost valueless in practical terms, has become an object of prestige and high market value, embodying the paradox of numismatics, how time transforms the trivial into the treasured. The path to its $10,000 valuation has been steady and unmistakable. As the number of surviving examples remains small and demand among collectors continues to grow, this coin has become a highlight of modern Australian numismatic portfolios. For those who specialize in decimal-era rarities, owning a 1979 1-cent coin is a statement, a mark of expertise, patience, and historical insight. It is one of those coins that turn a collection from impressive to legendary. To see this coin in person is to witness perfection on a miniature scale. Under magnification, its surfaces reveal the delicate craftsmanship of late 20th century minting, even fields, razor-sharp details, and that faint reddish glow unique to copper alloys that have matured gracefully over decades. Each element of its design seems to whisper history, of the mint, technicians who struck it, of the collectors who preserved it, and of the nation whose identity it quietly reflects. And when this coin appears on the auction floor, the atmosphere shifts. Collectors lean forward, conversations soften, and the room fills with anticipation. It is not just about bronze and numbers, it is about heritage, about the pursuit of perfection, about the chance to own something that almost no one else ever will. When the auctioneer's gavel comes down and the price settles at $10,000, it is more than a transaction. It is a recognition of beauty, rarity, and legacy. The 1979 Australian 1-cent coin is a paradox in metal form. Small, unassuming yet infinitely valuable. It represents the intersection of artistry, history, and scarcity, the three pillars of numismatic excellence. In a world where value is often fleeting, this coin endures, shining quietly through time, a perfect reminder that greatness can indeed come in the smallest of forms. Next up, the 1987 Australian 1-cent coin in the grand tapestry of Australian numismatic history. Few coins embody mystery, rarity, and reverence quite like the 1987 Australian 1-cent coin, a coin so elusive that its existence borders on myth, a coin whose modest denomination belies its extraordinary worth. Today, this small bronze disc, once intended for everyday circulation, stands among Australia's most prized decimal-era rarities, carrying a staggering market valuation of $21,500. To the untrained eye, the 1987 1-cent coin might appear no different from the millions of bronze pieces that once jingled in pockets across the country. But beneath its humble exterior lies a story of transition, rarity, and numismatic brilliance that few coins can match. Minted in a year of profound change at the Royal Australian Mint, this coin marks a pivotal moment, the twilight of one of Australia's most iconic denominations. The obverse bears the timeless portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the acclaimed sculptor Ralph Macluf, whose depiction replaced the earlier Arnold Machen design beginning in 1985. Macluf's portrait is regal and mature, capturing the Queen in her later years with exquisite realism, the intricate rendering of her crown, the subtle contours of her face, and the elegant fall of her hair symbolizing the passage of time and the enduring grace of the monarchy. The legend surrounding the effigy, Elizabeth II Australia 1987, remains crisp and balanced, perfectly representing the mint's refined die work during this period. On the reverse, Stuart Devlin's feathertail glider returns, the enduring emblem of Australia's smallest denomination. This miniature marvel of design is more than just an animal depiction. It is a national signature. Devlin, known for his genius in merging nature and symbolism, created an image of the feathertail glider that resonates with motion and vitality. Its delicate body, curled tail, and expressive posture embody the freedom and uniqueness of Australian wildlife. Devlin's artistic philosophy, to imbue even the smallest coin with meaning and beauty, is fully realized here. Yet the story of the 1987 1-cent coin goes far beyond artistry. Its rarity is tied to the changing economic and minting landscape of the 1980s. By 1987, inflation and shifts in consumer habits had rendered the 1 and 2 cent coins increasingly impractical. The Royal Australian Mint, responding to these realities, sharply reduced the production of lower denominations. For that year, no 1-cent coins were released into general circulation, and only a limited number were struck for official mint sets. Collector issues preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. The mystery lies in the fact that a handful of circulation quality 1987 1-cent coins have surfaced over the decades, their origins uncertain. Were they experimental strikes? Were they accidentally released during minting transitions? Or were they test pieces that escaped from the mint's controlled environment? Whatever their story, each known example is a treasure, a tangible link between the production line and the collector's cabinet, between industrial process and historical legacy. The 1987 1-cent coin has since become one of the most coveted modern rarities in Australian decimal coinage. Its estimated market value of $21,500 reflects not only its extreme scarcity, but also the mythology that surrounds it. When one appears at auction, the numismatic world takes notice. Collectors recognize that such a coin is not simply a date variation, it is an event. Auction rooms grow hushed as the coin is presented, the bronze gleam catching the light, its surfaces flawless, its details razor-sharp. Experts lean in to examine the fine texture of the metal, the precision of the lettering, the evenness of the strike. Under magnification, its fields reveal no marks, no wear, only the mirror-like brilliance of untouched preservation. Each specimen carries a story of immaculate survival, a defiance of time and circulation. The historical context deepens its allure. The year 1987 marked a period of modernization within the mint. New machinery, tighter quality control, and evolving design philosophies. It was also a moment of quiet. Farewell to the small denomination, coins that had served Australia faithfully for over 2 decades. By the early 1990s, both the 1 and 2 cent coins would be withdrawn entirely, melted down, and remembered only through collectors' hands and historical records. The 1987 issue, therefore, stands at the threshold of extinction, the final breath before the end of an era. Every detail of this coin tells a larger story. The obverse speaks of the monarchy's enduring presence. The reverse speaks of nature and national pride. The absence of circulation speaks of economic evolution. And the rarity speaks of chance, that unpredictable force that transforms a common coin into a numismatic legend. To own a 1987 Australian 1 cent coin in mint state, condition is to hold more than bronze. It is to hold a piece of history that survived against the odds. It represents the confluence of precision, scarcity, and storytelling that defines true collecting passion. For serious numismatists, it is a milestone acquisition, a symbol of patience rewarded and knowledge realized. When it appears in catalogs or auction listings, it commands not just attention, but admiration. Each listing is accompanied by whispers of disbelief and respect. One of the rarest 1 cent coins ever struck. A masterpiece of modern minting. An investment grade specimen with impeccable provenance. Bidders know that opportunities like this do not come twice in a lifetime, and when the auctioneer's gavel strikes the final bid, it resonates beyond the room. It echoes through the archives of Australian numismatic history, reaffirming that true value is born not only of metal, but of meaning. This coin, once worth a mere cent, has transcended its monetary origins to become a cultural artifact. It represents the evolution of a nation's coinage, the artistry of its designers, and the precision of its mint. Most of all, it represents the fascinating paradox of numismatics. That time can elevate the smallest, most ordinary object into something extraordinary, something that embodies legacy, craftsmanship, and enduring worth. In the end, the 1987 Australian 1 cent coin is more than just a collectible. It is a whisper from a vanished era, a spark of history preserved in bronze, and a reminder that greatness often comes not from size, but from story. And in the world of coin collecting, there are few stories as captivating, as elusive, and as profoundly valuable as this one. Next up, the 1966 Australian 1 cent coin. When Australia stepped into the new decimal era on the 14th of February 1966, it did more than change a currency system. It redefined its national identity in metal. The 1966 Australian 1 cent coin became one of the first children of that new age. A tiny bronze, ambassador of a nation leaving the pounds, shillings, pence tradition behind. Millions of pieces were struck for everyday use. Yet among that flood of new money, a handful of coins emerged so perfectly executed, or so uniquely flawed, that they would one day ascend to legendary status. It is these singular survivors that today carry an astonishing market valuation, approaching $95,000, a figure that transforms a humble cent into a treasure of national significance. The physical specifications of the piece are deceptively simple: 2.59 grams of bronze, 1753 millimeters in diameter, rimmed with a plain edge. The metal glows with a reddish-brown warmth, copper, blended with zinc and a trace of tin, a color that in fresh mint state catches light like polished mahogany. On the obverse, the youthful Queen Elizabeth II faces right. Her portrait, sculpted by Arnold Machine's predecessor, Mary Gillick, adapted for Australia's first decimal issues. The effigy is serene and optimistic, framed by the inscription, Elizabeth II Australia, 1966, a declaration of sovereignty for a modern nation finding its own voice. The reverse, created by the gifted designer Stuart Devlin, introduced Australians to the feathertail glider, a small, nocturnal marsupial, rendered with dynamic grace. Its delicate tail curls beneath its agile body, giving the illusion of motion across the coin's field. Devlin's artistry was a quiet revolution. He turned everyday coinage into miniature sculpture. In 1966, these coins poured from the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and from the London branch of the Royal Mint to feed the new decimal system. Billions of them would circulate. Children would save them in jars. Shopkeepers would fill drawers with them, and few could imagine that any single 1-cent piece might someday be worth a fortune. Yet history and minting practice always leave room for miracles. Alongside mass production, a tiny number of proof strikes and presentation specimens were produced. Coins struck multiple times on polished planchets, using specially prepared dies, yielding mirror-like surfaces and razor-sharp reliefs. These proofs were never meant for circulation. They were crafted to demonstrate the perfection of the new coinage. Most reside in museums or official sets, but a few examples, preserved in flawless condition or accompanied by impeccable provenance, have crossed the auction block to achieve extraordinary prices. Then there are the rarities born not of perfection, but of accident. In 1966, as the new decimal presses roared into life, a handful of experimental and transitional errors occurred. Coins struck on the wrong planchets, coins double-struck or weakly centered, or those exhibiting off-metal compositions from testing phases. Each of these anomalies is a fingerprint of the minting process itself, the moment machinery and human oversight, combined to create unrepeatable uniqueness. One documented example, a 1966 1-cent struck on a silver planchet, dazzled collectors and set record prices, its value soaring toward $95,000. Why such a figure for something so small? The answer lies in a confluence of factors: historical primacy, technical rarity, and emotional symbolism. The 1966 issue inaugurated Australia's decimal coinage. It is, in a sense, the year one of modern Australian money, a proof or error from that first production. Run represents not just metal, but a nation's turning point. Combine that with near impossible survival in pristine condition, and the coin ceases to be currency. It becomes an artifact. Collectors describe a peculiar feeling when holding one of these rare pieces. Under magnification, the surfaces reveal a silky texture, with microscopic flow lines radiating like ripples on still water. The fields gleam black mirror deep. The devices stand in frosted contrast. Every hair of the teeth, Queen's portrait, and every curve of the glider, rendered with microscopic precision. There is a weightless silence to such perfection, as if the coin were holding its breath across 6 decades. Auction scenes involving a 1966 proof or spectacular error have become almost ceremonial. When one appears in a major catalogue, Noble Numismatics, Downies, or heritage auctions, collectors and investors alike take notice. The bidding begins modestly, then accelerates as provenance and condition unfold. Perhaps it originated from an early mint officials set. Perhaps it has been graded PR69 DKM by an international authority. The price climbs, and as the gavel finally falls at $95,000, the room exhales, not at the money spent, but at the reaffirmation that artistry, rarity, and history can converge in a single coppery circle. Beyond the marketplace, the 1966 1-cent coin tells a broader cultural story. It marks the optimism of post-war Australia, a nation eager to define itself apart from its colonial past. Confident enough to mint its own symbols, it celebrates the country's unique fauna, placing a tiny marsupial beside the monarch as co-representatives of the realm. And it reminds us how value evolves. What once could buy a piece of candy now commands the price of a car, not because of inflation, but because of meaning. To own such a coin is to own the first heartbeat of decimal Australia. It connects its custodian to the craftsmen of the Royal Australian Mint, to the artists who sculpted national identity into bronze, and to every Australian who jingled new coins in 1966 with a sense of novelty and pride. Its worth cannot be measured solely in dollars, though the market assigns it $95,000. Its true value lies in the story it preserves, the birth of modern currency, the perfection of minting craft, and the unbroken chain of fascination that links past to present. In the numismatic world, rarity commands respect, but provenance commands reverence. Each 1966 1 cent of extraordinary grade carries whispers of its journey from the mint floor to the hands of an official, from a velvet-lined case to a vault, from anonymity to legend. When light glances across its surface, the reflections are more than metallic. They are reflections of history itself. And so, the 1966 Australian 1 cent coin, born as the smallest denomination of a bold new system, has ascended to become one of the most desirable pieces of modern Australian numismatics. It reminds collectors that greatness is not measured by size or face value, but by significance. In its tiny frame lives a story of national renewal, of artistry at its finest, and of the enduring human impulse to preserve beauty and meaning. For a coin that once clinked unnoticed in the pockets of a generation, to now command $95,000 is poetic justice, a testament to how history rewards those small miracles that survive unscathed, gleaming quietly through the passage of time, carrying the heart of a nation within a single cent.